Hello once again, Martin Popoff here, back again with another edition of Reliving Old Reviews as a Useless Tool of Confusion. This is the show where we look at an old review and see if the writer got it right at the time. The whole idea is, without the context, without the baggage, without the history that we see moving forward, what did these guys say about these albums as new releases? So today we're going to be looking at Robert Plant, Fate of Nations. By the way, you can go to martinpopoff.com and get the Robert Plant panel book that I did. I've done a pile of these books where essentially the idea is I get a panel together and we go through every studio album and I do a Q&A interview on every studio album. So martinpopoff.com for that. That is fairly recent. And so yeah, we are looking at Fate of Nations. This is from Kerrang. I've got my page here. So this is a review from Kerrang by Paul Elliott. I haven't read this, or I haven't read it recently. Maybe I read it a long time ago. But the idea is I'm just going to go through this review and we're going to critique and we'll see if Paul Elliott got it right about Robert Plant. Kerrang's in a funny place in 1993. I mean, they're still trying to cover all the it's kind of an alternative world. It's a grunge world. They're pushing their own grunge bands. I mean, is this the era of all that bizarre pushing of Terrorvision, Thunder? Remember Thunder? And a pile of bands. Thunder obviously is their play for kind of a hair metal band. One of them, and I'm amazed at how much Thunder coverage and Terrorvision coverage there was in Kerrang. But here we go. I think this is pretty funny. The picture has a caption under it that says "Merciful Fate." There we go. And let's see. The caption says Robert Plant in full bouffant glory. Okay. So Plant's tongue-in-cheek comments regarding his former partner Jimmy Page's alliance with David Coverdale made it clear before this release that Plant has found it easier than Page to let go of Led Zeppelin. Okay, so the idea here is that we have competition going with the Coverdale Page album also in 1993. Kind of a whole different approach to the philosophy of dealing with Led Zeppelin's roots. But I would argue that they do it one way, but Robert Plant's kind of doing it as well here. He's got a fairly decent connection to Led Zeppelin's roots on this album. This was a pretty highly regarded album. Anyways, let's move forward. Plant and Page created in Zeppelin the greatest heavy rock band of all time. Heavy rock in upper lower. I really don't like when I see that. Page was the chief sonic architect and alchemist, as old Cove puts it, but without Plant, he has never equaled the majesty of Zeppelin. That's absolutely true. We know there was the Outrider album. We know that there were the two Firm albums. They're not very well regarded at all. I personally think Walking into Clarksdale is the lost Led Zeppelin album. I love that record. I think by far that's the greatest thing Jimmy Page ever did post Led Zeppelin. And then, but it's funny how we tend to forget that the Coverdale Page album even came out. I kind of forget it at times. So he has dropped down and done a few things over the years, but it's never been much. And Robert Plant just took off and made a ton of solo albums. Like I say, enough to do an entire book of going through all this stuff, starting with the great Pictures at 11 and The Principle of Moments, which I spent years calling that my favorite album of all time, through some of the 80s and 90s. I just love that album. I think it's an absolute masterpiece. Okay. The Coverdale Page album is a remarkable exercise in Zeppelin-esque bombast and the best record Page has made since the turn of the 80s. But it's no substitute for Presence, let alone one of Zeppelin's first four albums. So yeah, Paul kind of gets that right, I suppose. Putting down Presence even compared to the previous ones. It is bombastic. It's almost like it's an overwrought, overworked post hair metal album. It's for 90. It doesn't sound like a 1993 album. I'm talking about Coverdale Page here. It sounds more like a 90 album. Okay. Plant avoids such comparisons by making altogether more modern and sophisticated adult rock records. Again, rock, upper, lower. Fate of Nations is his strongest solo release to date. Previous albums have produced several great tracks between them, notably Big Log and Ship of Fools, plus a stack of fillers, and doodles. Fate of Nations has great songs and a consistency of strong material lacking on past releases. I like that. I think that's kind of true. I think history has told us that Fate of Nations is probably his best album since all the way back to Principle of Moments. That's kind of what I believe as well. What I like about this record is, if you change sort of the arrangements of records on songs on Manic Nirvana and now and then, they would sound like Fate of Nations songs, or they would sound, maybe more like songs from the first couple of albums, Not Shaken and Stirred. But Fate of Nations is a little bit like that as well. So I think on here you get kind of like more sober production values. You get some heaviness in Calling to You. You get some acoustic. Again, it's ridiculously complicated who plays on this album. It's just got just a pile of guys coming in and out. That's Robert, right? Robert likes fresh blood all the time. He likes bouncing ideas off people, and boy, there's a lot of bouncing going on here because there's so many different people involved, right? But it does feel a little bit like the Coverdale Page album in that he is kind of chucking aside some of that 80s stuff and giving us more of a 70s vibe, I think is a good way of putting it, right? The killer tracks are current single 29 Palms, a cool, simple acoustic number, I Believe, another fine pop song, again, pop, upper lower, which would make a strong follow-up single, and 3 mellow atmospheric songs, Great Spirit, Greatest Gift, and If I Were a Carpenter. Again, that's a great point. I mean, again, what we have here is no dance beats. It's not dance beat stuff. It's kind of, giving that connection to acoustic Led Zeppelin, right? The nearest Percy gets to Whole Lotta Love this time out is on the colossal opening track, Calling to You, but it's not as crude as Coverdale Page's Shake My Tree. Great point. You could put those two songs up against each other in a tag team, just like you put these two albums up against each other. And Calling to You is colossal. What a great way of putting it, right? The latter pairing may sell more records in 1993, but Plant's album is the smarter. Who's the cunning old fox now, David? So yeah, pretty cool. I like that. I think history is judged Fate of Nations better than history has judged Coverdale Page. So there you go. That's been another Reliving Old Reviews as a useless tool of confusion. You can hit like and subscribe if you like this. Comment below what you think of my analysis of this review, my review of this review. Like I say, martinpopoff.com. I've written 130 books. About 100 of them are still in print. I've got a Led Zeppelin that just came back as well. Led Zeppelin, a visual biography. You can see that there as well. And check out my audio podcast, The Stream 5 Songs with Martin Popoff. Go play some Robert Plant.